You're tuning into the deep dive because you want to cut through the noise and get straight to what really matters. Today we're tackling something that's, well, it's kind of a rite of passage, but also, let's be honest, a source of anxiety for a lot of software engineers. LeetCode.
Yeah.
Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, not just to understand what LeetCode is, but like how to actually use it strategically for interviews, for skills.
Exactly. And we've basically distilled the experience of someone who's gone, really deep. Over 1,500 problems solved, interviews at Amazon, Google, Microsoft.
Wow.
Yeah. So the goal here is practical advice. Make the journey less overwhelming, more effective.
Okay, let's dive right in then, because that first look at LeetCode, it's a lot. It feels like this huge uncharted map.
It really does.
So we're going to hit the big questions, like, first off, is LeetCode actually essential for every job?
Right.
Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, like choosing a language, how to wrap your head around data structures, algorithms.
Fundamentals.
Yeah, and maybe the biggest one. Where do you even start with all those problems?
Let's tackle that first one then.
Yeah.
Why LeetCode? Is it, universally necessary today?
And the honest answer, based on what our expert user found, is, well, not always. You can definitely land a good software job without tons of LeetCode. Some startups, for instance, they might look more at your projects or use different kinds of tech tests.
True. But, and this is the big, but if you're aiming for those major tech companies.
The big tech players.
Amazon, Google, Microsoft, yeah. Then LeetCode becomes pretty critical. It's just how they tend to assess core problem-solving skills in a standard way.
So if that's your target, think of LeetCode less as optional, more like required reading.
Kind of, yeah. A key part of the prep strategy, for sure.
Right. So big tech equals LeetCode prep. Got it. Okay, moving on. That language choice, this one feels huge for beginners.
It can feel that way, definitely. But the good news is there isn't really one single best language.
Oh.
As long as you pick something popular, well-supported, C++, Java, Python, JavaScript, you're generally fine.
And if you're totally new to coding, like staring at that list thinking, help,
then the recommendation is usually Python. Its syntax is just dot cleaner, more readable. It's a smoother ramp up.
Okay, Python for newbies. But what if I already know, say, Java pretty well?
Then stick with Java. Don't switch just for LeetCode. You don't need to be a language guru, just the basics.
Basics meaning?
Like loops, conditionals, if else stuff functions, basic input-output. That's your foundation.
Well, and a lot of these languages have helpful built-in tools, right? Like libraries for data structures.
Exactly. C++ has the STL, the standard template library. Java has its collections framework.
Yeah.
Knowing how to use those, big time saver. Really streamlines things.
Yeah, makes sense. So don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to.
Pretty much. And remember, especially in those big tech interviews, the language itself, it's mostly just a tool.
They care more about the thinking.
Yeah, your problem-solving process, your algorithmic thinking. Our source actually switched languages multiple times, C++ to Python, then Java professionally. The core skills transfer.
Okay, that's reassuring. So language chosen now. The potentially scary part, data structures and algorithms, DSA. Where do you even start learning that?
Right. So before touching any LeetCode problems, our source really emphasizes understanding some core CS concepts first.
Like what?
Top of the list, time and space complexity, usually talked about with big O notation.
Ah, big O. Sounds complex, but it's basically about efficiency, right? How fast your code runs or how much memory it uses as the input gets bigger.
Precisely. And understanding it helps you figure out why one solution is better than another. It's not just academic. It's practical for optimization.
Gotcha. So understand big O first, then what?
Then get familiar with the basic data structures, the building blocks.
Oh, wait, like?
Arrays, strings, binary trees, linked lists, stacks, queues, and hash maps.
Hash maps, like a super fast dictionary or phone book.
Exactly. You'll see these structures over and over again.
And algorithms. Any basics there?
Yeah, simple stuff to start, like how to search within a string. And recursion is a big one.
Recursion, like functions calling themselves. Those Russian nesting dolls.
That's a good way to think about it. You don't need super advanced algorithms right away. Just know how to implement these basics in your chosen language.
Okay, but where do you learn this stuff? LeetCode is for practice, not teaching from scratch, right?
Correct. For learning, our source had a couple of strong recommendations. If you like visuals, the William Fissett YouTube channel has an amazing data structures playlist.
Oh, visual explanations are great for that stuff.
Totally. He makes complex things really clear. And if you prefer books, Two classics, Data Structures and Algorithms Made Easy by Karamanchi, and the big one, Cracking the Coding Interview by Gail Lockman McDowell.
Ah, yes, CTCI, the interview Bible.
Pretty much. Both are packed with explanations, examples, really solid resources.
Okay, so foundation built, some big O, some basic structures. Now, the LeetCode site itself, thousands of problems. Where do you click first? It's overwhelming.
Totally get that. The advice here is super practical. Start by topic.
Meaning?
If you just learned about arrays, go to the array problems on LeetCode. Just learned about linked lists. Do those problems.
Ah, so you reinforce the learning for that specific structure.
Exactly. It helps you really internalize how and when to use it. And within that topic.
Start easy.
Yes. Start with the easy ones. Build confidence. See the common patterns for that topic. Then gradually try slightly harder ones. That constant little push is key.
And don't worry about the hard ones initially.
Definitely not when you're starting. Our source stressed that most interviews, especially entry to mid-level, focus on medium difficulty questions.
Okay, so aim for solid medium skills first.
That's generally the sweet spot. Also keep in mind the type of question can vary. Back-end versus front-end roles might see different things. Big company versus startup. Senior roles might lean more on system design too.
Right, context matters. Now, what about those curated lists? Like LeetCode 75, are those useful?
Yeah, for people with some experience or who want structure, lists like LeetCode 75, Top 100 Liked, or Top Interview 150 can be great. They hit common patterns.
Good to know. Any pitfalls to avoid when picking problems?
One practical tip. Maybe avoid problems with tons of dislikes.
Why is that?
They might be badly worded, have weird test cases, just generally frustrating, can kill your motivation.
Good point. Stick to the well-regarded ones. What about the difficulty tags? Are they reliable?
Not always perfectly consistent. You might hit an easy that feels really hard.
Happens to everyone.
Oh yeah. Don't let it get you down. It's just part of the process. And try not to jump doing problems too fast.
Better to grapple with one for a bit.
Definitely. Give it a good chunk of folk and time. You learn more wrestling with it than just skimming lots of problems.
Okay, focus on topics, start easy, aim for medium, maybe use lists, avoid hated problems, don't sweat the tags, and give each problem time. That's a plan. But how many problems? Is there a magic number?
The million-dollar question. It's subjective, of course. Depends on your background, your goals.
But is there like a ballpark figure?
Our source suggested maybe 300 to 400 problems as a reasonable target for beginners aiming for those competitive roles.
300, 400. Okay. That's a lot, but maybe doable over time.
It is.
Yeah.
But, and this is super important, it's quality over quantity. Always.
Meaning.
Rushing just to hit a number without understanding is pointless. It's way better to deeply understand, say, 20 problems than to just glance at 100.
Really know them inside out.
Exactly. Yeah. Be able to explain them, know the trade-offs, and try to find the fun in it. That feeling when you finally crack a tough one, it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, that aha moment. Okay, so let's say I'm staring at a new problem, blank slate. What's the process? How do I approach it?
First step, always. Slow down and really understand the problem statement.
Read it carefully.
Very carefully. What are the inputs? What output is expected? Maybe even write it down in your own words.
Okay, understand the goal. Then what? Code.
Not yet. First, brainstorm a brute force solution, even if it's slow or inefficient.
Why start with brute force?
It helps you understand the basic logic, the constraints, gives you a starting point. Then you think about optimization.
Making it faster, using less memory.
Right. Can I use a better data structure? A smarter algorithm? This is where your DSA knowledge kicks in.
And plan this out before coding.
Yes. Big emphasis on that. Plan the approach first. Coding is often easier once you have a clear strategy. Winging it leads to frustration.
Plan first, code second. Makes sense. Anything else in the approach?
Always analyze the time and space complexity. Think about big O for every solution you devise. Interviewers expect this. And finally, test. Use small inputs first. And crucially, think about edge cases.
Edge cases, like empty inputs or weird values.
Exactly. The unusual stuff that might break a simple solution. Test for those.
Okay, solid approach. But what happens when, inevitably, you get stuck, like really stuck at a wall?
It happens to everyone. The advice is, give it a solid effort first, like 30 to 60 minutes of focused thinking.
Really try to work it out.
Yeah, don't give up too easily, but also don't spin your wheels for hours and hours on one problem.
So after an hour, if you're still lost,
it's okay to look for help. Check the hints LeetCode provides. If still stuck, look at the official solution or top community solutions.
Just read the solution.
Read it, yes, but understand it. Don't just glance at the code. Read the explanation. Why does it work? Check the discussion, too. Sometimes there are great insights there.
And there are video solutions, too.
Yeah, our source mentioned a browser extension, LeetCode Video Solutions, that finds YouTube explanations right on the page. Can be super helpful.
Okay, so you understand the solution. Then what? Copy paste?
No, absolutely not. The critical step is implement it yourself, type it out.
To reinforce the learning.
Exactly. And since you needed help, mark that problem. Come back to it in a few weeks. Try it again from scratch.
Space repetition. Good idea. Okay, let's talk about getting faster. Solving more problems, but effectively. Any tricks?
The key insight here is learning patterns, not just memorizing specific solutions.
Patterns. What do you mean?
You start noticing that many problems, even if they look different, use similar underlying techniques, like the sliding window pattern or two-pointer approaches.
So recognizing the pattern lets you apply a known strategy.
Precisely. Once you spot the pattern, you often have a template for how to solve it. Our source mentions solving like 20-plus sliding window problems using basically the same core logic.
That sounds powerful. How do you learn these patterns?
Our source actually compiled common patterns into a GitHub repo from various articles. Searching online for LeetCode patterns is definitely worthwhile.
Cool. Okay, pattern recognition, not memorization. Which brings up the next point. What about just straight up memorizing solutions, especially for hard ones? Bad idea.
Very bad idea, according to our source. Strongly advises against it.
Why? Seems like a shortcut.
It doesn't actually build your problem-solving skill. And it completely fails in interviews.
How so?
Interviewers want your thought process.
Yeah.
How did you get to the solution? Why does it work? If you just memorized it, you can't explain it. You can't adapt if they change the problem slightly.
Right. You need the understanding behind it.
Exactly. Understanding is far more valuable and, frankly, more memorable in the long run than just rote memorization. Being able to articulate your reasoning is key.
Okay, makes total sense. So you're practicing, understanding, learning patterns. How do you make sure this translates to the pressure of an actual interview?
You need to practice like it is an interview. Simulate the conditions.
Meaning timed practice.
Yes, timed practice is crucial. Solving problems with infinite time is very different from having 45 minutes with someone watching.
Is there a way to time yourself on LeetCode?
Yeah, there's a browser extension called LeetCode Timer that helps. Gets you used to that clock ticking.
Okay, good tip. What else?
The absolute best way to simulate interviews. LeetCode contests.
The weekly contest.
Yep. They force you to solve multiple problems under a strict time limit. It's the closest thing to the real deal.
Are they hard?
They can be, especially in first. Don't get discouraged if you struggle. It's normal. Our source went from solving maybe 1 or 2 problems per contest to eventually solving 3 or even all 4. It's a learning curve.
So embrace the challenge of contests. Okay, last big question. LeetCode Premium. Do beginners need it? Is it worth the money?
The advice is probably not necessary right at the start.
Really? What about the premium problems and company questions?
Premium does have benefits like those you mentioned, plus visual solutions sometimes. But a lot of that value can be found for free online.
How?
Need company-specific questions? Search online forums or sites like Glassdoor. Need a visual explanation for a problem, even a premium one.
YouTube.
Exactly. Search LeetCode plus the problem number on YouTube.
Yeah.
You'll almost always find great video walkthroughs.
So you can get pretty far with just the free LeetCode and other online resources.
Absolutely. Don't feel pressured to pay for premium immediately. Master the free stuff first.
Great advice. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Key takeaways for someone starting their LeetCode journey.
All right, so focus on the fundamentals first. Big O, core data structures, basic algorithms.
Build that foundation.
Yeah. Then start with easy problems grouped by topic. Gradually increase difficulty. Aim for medium proficiency.
Quality over quantity.
Always. Deep understanding beats a high problem count. Learn the common patterns. Don't just memorize code.
And practice like it's real.
Definitely. Use the timer and jump into those contests, even if they feel intimidating at first.
Awesome. We really hope this deep dive has given everyone listening a clearer path, maybe made LeetCode feel a bit less scary.
Yeah, the goal was a structured approach, left overwhelm, more confidence for tackling this part of the dev journey.
So we'll leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Considering everything we talked about today, what specific data structure or maybe algorithm pattern are you personally most curious to dig into next on LeetCode?
And how could focusing on that one area maybe accelerate your learning right now? Something to think about for your next step.